The concrete bunker sits hidden among Pearl Harbor's swaying palm trees. Fluorescent bulbs buzz overhead without pause. Rows of metal desks fill the cramped space. The clock shows 3:47 a.m. on May 13, 1944. Static crackles through headphones worn by Lieutenant Junior Grade Bobby Chen. Electronic voices drift across thousands of miles of dark Pacific waters. Chen adjusts his equipment one final time. He doesn't resemble a weapon of destruction. This 22-year-old Stanford mathematics graduate peers through thick spectacles. Ink stains mark his fingertips permanently. A library would suit him better than any battlefield. Yet here in this unmarked building labeled only as Station Hypo, Chen and his team prepare to unleash naval warfare's most devastating hunt. Japanese transmissions sound like meaningless electronic chatter to untrained ears. But Chen has mastered the complex patterns of Imperial Navy encryption. Every electronic beep carries meaning. Each whistle tells a complete story. His pencil moves quickly across paper. Coordinates appear. Time stamps follow. Submarine identification numbers emerge. His hand shakes slightly. Not from exhaustion, from understanding the terrible weight of what he's decoding. "Got another one," Chen whispers across the room. His voice barely rises above the mechanical hum of decryption equipment. I-16, estimated arrival Buen, 2200 hours, May 20th. Lieutenant Commander Joseph Finnegan approaches Chen's desk. The watch officer's weathered face reveals 2 years of converting Japanese communications into American tactical superiority. He understands that each decoded message holds dozens of lives in the balance. Sometimes hundreds hang on a single intercept. "How confident are you in this intercept, Chen?" 95%, sir. The transmission signature matches I-16's previous patterns. The timing coordinates align perfectly with known Japanese resupply schedules. Finnegan nods with grim understanding. This information will reach Admiral William Bull Halsey's headquarters within 30 minutes. 6 hours later, it will be transmitted to destroyer escorts patrolling the Solomon Islands. By tomorrow evening, Lieutenant Commander Yoshitaka Takeuchi will be dead at the Pacific's bottom. His veteran submarine captain experience means nothing now. 9 successful war patrols cannot save him. Countless depth charge attacks he survived become irrelevant. Neither Chen nor Takeuchi grasps the new warfare rules yet. The Japanese commander still believes in traditional submarine doctrine. Stealth battles stealth. Hunter faces hunter. Victory depends on skill, luck, and raw courage. He cannot imagine that American technology has changed everything completely. Every radio transmission now becomes a death sentence. Each submarine transforms into a sitting target. The most invisible weapons of war suddenly become completely visible to their enemies. What happens when hunters become prey? When the hunted doesn't realize the killing has already started? 12 days of unprecedented destruction will answer these questions. Submarine warfare will never be the same. Admiral Sumotoyota spreads maps across his flagship's wardroom table. His weathered hands trace the Pacific Ocean's vast expanse. Appointed weeks ago as Commander-in-Chief of Japan's combined fleet, Toyota confronts a nightmare that denies him sleep through endless tropical nights. American forces advance across the Pacific like an unstoppable tsunami. Toyota cannot determine their next strike point. Will they attack north toward the Marianas? West toward Palau and the Philippines? His massive fleet carries enough fuel for exactly one decisive engagement. 6 carriers, 10 battleships, 40 other warships. Choose incorrectly, and Japan's final hope for naval victory dies with empty fuel tanks. We must have reconnaissance, Toyota tells his staff officers. His voice carries the weight of a dying empire. Our patrol aircraft cannot penetrate their air defenses. Radio intelligence provides fragments, not certainty. The submarines are our eyes. Rear Admiral Noboru Owada commands the submarine force serving as those eyes. From his Saipan headquarters, Owada studies intelligence reports with mounting unease. His largest, most capable I-class submarines are increasingly pressed into service as underwater cargo vessels. They haul rice and ammunition to starving, isolated garrisons bypassed by Allied advances. The scouting mission falls to smaller RO-class boats. These coastal patrol submarines were never designed for long-range reconnaissance. Lieutenant Commander Takayuchi, aboard I-16, will complete one final supply run to Bougainville. Then 7 RO-class submarines will establish the NA line. A 200-mile picket stretches between the Admiralty Islands and Truk. They wait to spot and report American fleet movements. These boats lack radar, Owada confides to his aide. They have radar detectors, but no surface search capability. They'll operate blind except for periscope observations. Owada doesn't know that Admiral Toyota's entire strategy depends on submarines already doomed to destruction. 3,000 miles away at Pearl Harbor, Fleet Radio Unit Pacific men work continuously in their secret bunker. They've broken multiple Japanese naval codes, but their greatest weapon isn't cryptography. Speed determines everything. Intelligence means nothing if it arrives too late. Lieutenant Commander Hamilton Haynes receives decoded intelligence about I-16 while his destroyer escort division refuels at Purvis Bay in the Solomon Islands. 3 ships comprise his force: USS England, USS George, USS Rabi, all newly commissioned Buckley-class destroyer escorts designed specifically for submarine hunting. These aren't massive battleships that capture newspaper headlines. At 306 feet long, they're dwarfed by fleet carriers and cruisers. But every construction line screams lethal purpose. QHB-1 sonar for detection. Depth charge racks for conventional attacks. K-gun projectors for added firepower. Most importantly, the new Mark X Hedgehog. This British-designed forward-firing mortar will revolutionize anti-submarine warfare completely. Aboard USS England, Executive Officer Lieutenant John Williamson drives his crew through endless training drills with obsessive intensity. At 26, this Alabama native survived 9 months of convoy duty in the North Atlantic. He watched German U-boats torpedo merchant ships within sight of his destroyer. The difference between living and dying is measured in seconds, Williamson tells his sonar operators during another drill. The submarine captain who reacts faster survives. The sonar operator who identifies contacts quicker saves the ship. There are no participation trophies in submarine warfare. 19-year-old soundman Roger Bernhardt practices contact identification until his ears ache. Fish schools sound different from submarines. Whales have distinctive acoustic signatures. Temperature layers create false echoes. But a submarine trying to hide creates a specific sound pattern that Bernhardt learns to recognize instinctively. The crew initially resents Williamson's relentless training schedule. They're missing shore leave, working double watches. Practicing attack runs until Hedgehog crews can reload in under 3 minutes. But Williamson knows something they don't understand yet. Submarine warfare's old rules are about to change completely. Traditional depth charges explode at preset depths, whether they hit anything or not. The explosions disrupt sonar contact. This gives surviving submarines precious seconds to escape during the blind period. Submarine captains have learned to time their evasive maneuvers to exploit this weakness. But Hedgehog projectiles only explode on contact. Miss the submarine, and there's no explosion. Sonar contact continues uninterrupted. Hit the submarine, and even one contact-fused projectile can breach the hull. It's a weapon system that rewards precision and punishes submarines relying on traditional evasion tactics. The Japanese don't know about Hedgehog's full capabilities, Williamson explains to his officers during a wardroom meeting. Their submarine doctrine assumes we'll lose sonar contact during depth charge attacks. They'll try standard evasion patterns that work against conventional weapons. That's when we kill them. May 18, 1944, brings an electrifying message from Third Fleet to Commander Haynes. Japanese sub believed heading to supply beleaguered forces at Buen. He is believed to be approaching this point from the north and should arrive in that area by about 1400 hours, 20th. Good hunting. The 3 destroyer escorts get underway. Their crews don't understand they're beginning naval history's most successful submarine hunting campaign. Lieutenant Commander Takeuchi, aboard I-16, carries bags of rice for starving Japanese troops. He has no idea that his routine radio transmission has already sealed his fate. The hunters move toward their prey. They're guided by technology the prey cannot imagine. Armed with weapons the prey has never encountered. May 19, 1944. The Pacific Ocean stretches endlessly under blazing tropical sun. 3 American destroyer escorts cut through moderate swells northwest of Bougainville. Aboard USS England, soundman Roger Bernhardt adjusts his headphones. He listens to the ocean's symphony. Ship engines provide rhythm. Water whispers past the hull. Marine life clicks and calls in the distance. At 1:25 p.m., everything changes forever. "Contact!" Bernhardt shouts. His teenage voice cracks with excitement and terror. "Contact, bearing Eero Ford 5, range approximately 1,300 yards." Lieutenant Junior Grade Harrison, the officer of the deck, stares at the 19-year-old sonar operator with complete disbelief. According to intelligence estimates, I-16 should be miles away. This has to be a mistake. Probably a school of fish. Maybe a temperature layer creating false echoes. "Are you certain, Bernhardt?" Harrison demands. "That contact shouldn't be there." Bernhardt presses his headphones tighter against his ears. He listens to the distinctive rhythmic pulse every sonar operator learns to recognize. His hands shake as he fine-tunes the equipment, double-checking bearing and range. The sound is unmistakable, the mechanical heartbeat of a large submarine trying to hide. "Echoes sharp and clear, sir," Bernhardt replies, his voice steady now. "Sound is good. It's a submarine, sir. Big one." The general alarm shatters afternoon quiet. USS England transforms from routine patrol ship into predator locked onto prey. Lieutenant Commander Pendleton rushes to the bridge. Executive Officer John Williamson appears at the sonar station. His weathered face shows intense concentration. 300 feet below the surface, Lieutenant Commander Yoshitaka Takeuchi realizes his worst nightmare is beginning. This veteran submarine captain has survived 9 war patrols through skill, experience, and intuitive understanding of American anti-submarine tactics. But as I-16's sonar operator reports multiple surface contacts closing rapidly, Takeuchi knows he's caught in the most vulnerable position possible. Submerged, but detected. Nowhere to run. "Emergency deep," Takeuchi orders. "All ahead flank. Right full rudder." I-16 plunges toward the ocean floor in desperate diving spiral. Her hull groans under pressure. Compressed air hisses through ballast tank vents. Takeuchi initiates radical evasive maneuvers. Changing speed, direction, depth. Unpredictable patterns designed to break sonar contact and confuse American attack runs. Above, USS England closes for her first attack. Lieutenant Commander Pendleton positions the ship at optimal firing angle. Williamson coordinates with the Hedgehog crew. 24 contact-fused projectiles sit ready in the forward-firing mortar, each one a 35-pound package of high explosive designed to detonate only on direct contact with submarine hull. "Fire!" Pendleton orders. The Hedgehog erupts in rapid-fire sequence. Projectiles launch in elliptical pattern 200 yards ahead of England's bow. For 7 agonizing seconds, the projectiles sink through water toward I-16's estimated position. Then, silence. No explosions. The first attack missed completely. Takeuchi allows himself a moment of hope. The American attack pattern seems familiar. Similar to depth charge runs he survived before. He orders another radical course change, diving deeper while his crew struggles to maintain trim, avoiding noise that might betray their position. But this isn't traditional depth charge warfare. Takeuchi doesn't understand the new rules yet. Unlike conventional depth charges that explode whether they hit anything or not, Hedgehog contact-fused projectiles detonate only on impact. No explosions mean no sonar disruption. USS England maintains perfect contact with I-16 throughout the first attack. Immediately begins maneuvering for a second run. Williamson studies the sonar display, calculating I-16's probable course and speed. The Japanese submarine follows standard evasion doctrine. But standard doctrine assumes American sonar contact will be disrupted by depth charge explosions. Instead, England's sonar team tracks every movement with crystal clarity. "He's turning to port," Soundman Bernhardt reports, increasing speed. Depth now 250 feet. The second Hedgehog attack launches at 1:38 p.m. Again, 24 projectiles arc through air and sink toward the desperately maneuvering submarine. Again, silence. But this time, one projectile finds its mark. The muffled explosion reverberates through water as a single Hedgehog charge detonates against I-16's outer hull. The impact isn't immediately fatal, but it tears a gash in the submarine's pressure hull, triggers flooding in aft compartments. Emergency lighting flickers on as I-16's crew fights to save their ship. Takeuchi realizes with growing horror that Americans are using some new weapon system he's never encountered. Traditional depth charge attacks would have ended his ability to track England's position, given him precious seconds to escape during the blind period. Instead, the American destroyer maintains perfect sonar contact, repositioning for additional attacks with surgical precision. "All compartments report damage," Takeuchi orders. The responses tell a story of mounting catastrophe. Water flooding aft. Electrical systems damaged. Battery compartment compromised. I-16 is dying by degrees, but she's still fighting. Lieutenant Commander Pendleton realizes his first 2 attacks failed to achieve a kill. Standard naval doctrine would call for additional runs by the attacking ship. But Pendleton makes a decision revealing his confidence in his executive officer's tactical abilities. "Take the con, John," Pendleton tells Williamson. "Bring us around for another run." This moment transforms USS England's bridge. The ship's captain steps aside, allowing his 26-year-old executive officer to handle the final attack. It's extraordinary display of trust. Recognition that Williamson's obsessive training prepared him for exactly this moment. Williamson positions England with mathematical precision, calculating I-16's probable position based on sonar contact, estimated speed, evasive maneuvering patterns. The Japanese submarine is wounded, but still capable of radical course changes that could spoil the attack. At 1:43 p.m., Williamson orders the 4th Hedgehog attack. Miss. The crew's tension reaches breaking point. They've fired 3/4 of their Hedgehog ammunition at a single submarine. Miss this final attack, and they'll have to switch to conventional depth charges. Giving I-16 the sonar blind escape opportunity Takeuchi desperately needs. "One more run," Williamson announces, his voice steady despite enormous pressure. "Make this one count." At 1:43 p.m. and 30 seconds, USS England launches her fifth and final Hedgehog attack against I-16. 24 projectiles arc through tropical air and disappear beneath the Pacific's surface. For 7 seconds that feel like eternity. The crew waits in absolute silence. Then, the ocean erupts. 5 Hedgehog projectiles detonate simultaneously against I-16's hull, breaching the submarine's pressure-resistant compartments in multiple locations. The contact explosions trigger catastrophic secondary blast as seawater floods the battery compartment, creating chlorine gas while I-16's own torpedoes detonate sympathetically. The massive underwater explosion lifts USS England's 1640-ton hull partially out of water, slamming crewmen to the deck, knocking equipment loose throughout the ship. The blast is so powerful that sailors initially think England herself has been torpedoed. Lieutenant Commander Takeuchi and 106 other submariners die instantly as I-16 breaks apart and plummets toward the ocean floor, carrying her cargo of rice that will never reach the starving Japanese garrison at Bougainville. 20 minutes later, debris begins surfacing around USS England. Pieces of cork insulation, wooden fragments with Japanese characters, a 75-pound bag of rice confirming intelligence, estimates about I-16's supply mission. Most ominously, a dozen sharks appear within minutes, thrashing in the expanding oil slick that marks I-16's grave. For the first time, USS England's crew confronts the human reality of their technological superiority. Each successful attack means 40 to 80 men dying in the crushing depths of the Pacific. Initial excitement of combat gives way to sobering silence as sailors realize they've just participated in systematic destruction of human beings. But this is only the beginning. 3,000 miles away at Pearl Harbor, Fleet Radio Unit Pacific intercepts another Japanese transmission. This one from Admiral Owada, ordering his 7 RO-class submarines to relocate their positions along the NA line. Within 48 hours, American code breakers have plotted the exact latitude and longitude of every Japanese submarine in the patrol line. The systematic hunt is about to begin. What follows over the next 11 days defies naval warfare precedent. USS England encounters RO-106 on May 22nd. The Japanese submarine dies under Hedgehog fire after a brief hunt. RO-104 follows on May 24th. Her crew's death throes shake England's hull as contact-fused projectiles tear through pressure compartments. RO-116 attempts radical evasion on May 25th. Her captain tries every maneuver in the Imperial Navy's submarine warfare manual. Nothing works against weapons that maintain sonar contact throughout attack runs. She joins her sister boats on the ocean floor. RO-108 dies on May 26th. RO-105 follows on May 31st. Each attack follows the same pattern. Initial sonar contact, failed traditional evasion attempts, Hedgehog attacks that maintain continuous sonar tracking, final devastating explosions that send entire crews to their deaths. The human cost staggers both sides. Each Japanese submarine carries between 40 and 80 highly trained submariners. The cream of the Imperial Navy's underwater fleet. RO-106's Lieutenant Uda. RO-104's Lieutenant Isabuchi. RO-116's Lieutenant Commander Okabe. RO-108's Lieutenant Obari. RO-105's Lieutenant Ime. All experienced submarine commanders who survived multiple war patrols die with their entire crews in crushing depths. For USS England sailors, the psychological weight of systematic killing creates lasting trauma. Young seaman approaches Lieutenant Williamson after the third kill, asking, "Sir, how do you feel about killing all those men?" Williamson can only answer that war is about killing. The more ships they sink, the sooner it will all be over. The response haunts him for the rest of his life. By May 31st, 1944, USS England achieves something unprecedented in naval warfare annals. 6 Japanese submarines destroyed in 12 days. Soundman Roger Bernhardt, the teenager who made the first crucial contact detection, finds himself transformed from nervous recruit into combat veteran whose ears guided over 300 men to their deaths. Executive Officer John Williamson, the Alabama native whose obsessive training prepared England's crew for technological warfare, receives ultimate recognition: command of the ship that became synonymous with submarine hunting excellence. His relentless drilling paid off in the most deadly way possible. The strategic impact extends far beyond individual ship casualties. Admiral Somu Toyota, convinced that submarine losses indicate American fleet movement toward the Philippines, repositions Japan's combined fleet southward in preparation for decisive battle. When American forces actually invade the Marianas in June 1944, Japanese defenders are in the wrong location entirely. The resulting Battle of the Philippine Sea becomes known as the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. Japanese naval aviation, already weakened by pilot losses and fuel shortages, loses over 600 aircraft and 3 aircraft carriers in a single day. Japan's ability to conduct offensive carrier operations effectively ends. American forces capture airfields within bombing range of Japanese home islands. The technological revolution in anti-submarine warfare spreads rapidly throughout the Pacific Fleet. The combination of radio intelligence, advanced sonar systems, and contact-fused weapons like Hedgehog transforms submarine hunting from game of chance into science of systematic destruction. By war's end, Japan loses 130 submarines, 75% of their entire submarine force. Lieutenant Commander Yoshitaka Takeuchi's routine radio transmission about delivering rice to Bougainville inadvertently revealed submarine warfare's fundamental vulnerability in the electronic age. Every communication becomes potential death sentence when intercepted by enemies equipped with advanced code-breaking capabilities and real-time intelligence processing. The men of Fleet Radio Unit Pacific, working in their anonymous concrete bunker behind Pearl Harbor, prove that mathematics and electronics are as deadly as torpedoes and depth charges. Bobby Chen and his fellow codebreakers never fire a shot. But their work orchestrates the destruction of Japan's submarine reconnaissance network and contributes directly to American victory in the Pacific. Modern submarine warfare still operates on the same principle USS England demonstrated in May 1944. Whoever detects first survives. Today's nuclear submarines use sophisticated sonar arrays, satellite communications, computerized fire control systems, but the fundamental challenge remains unchanged, remaining invisible while making your enemy visible. The lessons learned during those 12 days in 1944 continue influencing naval doctrine today. Submarine commanders still practice the same radical, evasive maneuvers Lieutenant Commander Takeuchi attempted. Anti-submarine warfare specialists still train with the same obsessive intensity Executive Officer Williamson demanded from his crew. Technology has evolved, but the deadly game of hunter versus hunted continues in waters around the world. Admiral Ernest King's congratulatory message proved prophetic. There'll always be an England in the United States Navy. A second USS England, a guided missile cruiser, served from 1963 to 1994, participating in Vietnam War operations and Desert Storm before being decommissioned and scrapped. But the original England's legacy transcends individual ships or battles. In 12 days during May 1944, American technology, intelligence, and training combined to demonstrate that traditional concepts of invisible warfare were obsolete. The age of submarine supremacy was ending, replaced by an era where information and precision weapons would decide victory before the first shot was fired. The Japanese submarines were indeed hunted down by America's sonar technology. But more than that, they were outmatched by a new kind of warfare, one that turned their own communications into instruments of destruction. Their traditional tactics became their doom. The hunters had become the hunted, and the hunted never realized the killing had already begun.